Warning, this content may be disturbing to some audiences. Subscribe, if you dare. She told me she was pregnant with another man's baby, pretty easy decision. Hey everybody, welcome to ANECDOSED. People ask Reddit. Divorced men and women of Reddit, what was the final straw? Number 1. I think Pokemon Go was the final straw. We weren't married but together for 8 years with a kid. He had trouble keeping a job and hadn't had a full-time job in 9 months. He worked part-time and lost his job and had some bullshit story. I think he was showing up late and tired from staying up all night playing Pokemon Go downtown all night. Number 2. My father died in Asia. Last minute I had to bolt to his funeral. Packing my bags, she lay there in bed and said, "I feel like you're just going on vacation." This was really upsetting. After his funeral, Buddhist, where I had to clean his week-old black and blue zombie face with palms and coconut oil, watch him doused in gas from a jerry can, and get set on fire with fireworks from a watch, she called me and started lighting me up about our credit card debt. And told me I shouldn't care so much because he was a shit father anyway. The next day I had to pick his bones out, put them in an urn, dress his ashes in clothes after shaping them into the shape of a body, and drop his ashes into a hole in a trash-ridden unmarked grave in a small junglewood area. Carrying his ashes to the jungle, for some reason, gave me enough of an existential jolt to think, what the F am I doing? Took a year of deliberation, but I finally decided I deserved a more supportive partner. Number 3. Commenter. When my apartment neighbor asked me how I was okay with all of that. Okay with what? Oh, with being in an open marriage. I'm sorry, what now? Come again? Yeah, she told us you guys were in an open marriage when we saw her bringing guys home to your house while you were working. I'm sorry, what now? Come again? Awkward silence. Veiled, thanks for letting me know, or I'd still be in the dark about this whole open marriage thing. Person B. I was in a relationship for over a year. I did not find out we were in an open relationship until after the breakup, when one of her friends told me about it. They were pretty surprised to find out that the dozens of dudes she banged while drunk at parties were not approved. It would have been nice to know earlier so I could stop feeling guilty about wanting to dump her for so long. Person C. My ex-husband and I were also in a one-sided open relationship. The final straw was after he came home from a gangbang he found on Craigslist, and then going to have sex with a pregnant mutual friend of ours. Number 4. Commenter. She was 3 months pregnant, and I was 5 months out to sea. Person B. I saw this occur more than once in the Navy. I remember seeing a guy sobbing on the pier when I was walking off the ship after my first deployment. I found out later his wife was a few months pregnant, and we had been out for 9. It was sad to see. The military is rough on marriages. Number 5. Commenter. I caught her emailing him real estate listings. They were apparently shopping online for a house together. Person B. I feel ya. Mine was playing house already and moved in 2 weeks after our divorce. It only took 3 months. We had a kid. He got her pregnant immediately. This is after 20 years of being together. I can't comprehend how people jump from one marriage to another. I guess the thing that baffles me is how people like this, who are clearly conflicted, think the solution is to jump into marriage and more kids. Even as he moved in with her, he was texting me saying he ruined his life and wanted to just disappear. I begged him to just slow down and be alone to figure himself out. He didn't, because he knew I wouldn't take him back, so he needed to be with her. He is now constantly complaining about his life and makes snide comments that I have it made. Not really, but my life is easier and more balanced because I took lots of time to figure out what I want/need. Number 6. Commenter. When I realized that both my sons spoke to me in the same unpleasant, dismissive tone as my husband did. When my 10 years old asked me why I told them every day that daddy was cross and to try to keep out of his way. When I saw how much better he treated one child than the other. I hadn't realized. All those things had become my normal. Somehow not having access to our money had become unremarkable. Being undermined and belittled in front of others was to be tolerated. I had no idea how much I worked to keep the peace and placate. I felt so guilty when it dawned on me how much they were absorbing his behaviors and seeing them as normal. I woke up and saw my life with my old, single independent eyes and was both aghast and ashamed. I never, ever would have believed my life would become the mess it had. The thing is, most other people didn't see it. He never socialized with people I knew and his friends think he is great. Even my mom thinks I exaggerate and should put up and shut up. I feel so isolated, but I refuse to put up with this shit any longer. My kids deserve an emotionally healthy example of relationships and love. Person B. My ex verbally broke me into nothing over the course of 10 years. My eldest son, 7, was exhibiting behavioral problems. One day I realized he was acting just like his father. That was it. My parents had him over to the house a few times in the weeks following my announcement. We had moved out of state, but the few people we knew thought I was lying. It hurt. Thankfully my kids now have a much more loving and relaxed mother. They have a better role model in my partner. The behavior issues all but disappeared. Number 7. When one of my husband's many girlfriends actually came up to me, apologized and said, "He told me that you knew about me and that you had an open marriage." I was already planning on leaving him because of the infidelities. She just made me move all that much faster. Number 8. She didn't want to have to worry about coming home. She would sleep all day. We pulled up next to a truck one day and the guy was just glaring at me, then he peeled out and ran the red light. I asked her, "You know that guy?" She replied, "Yeah, we worked together," and found out she was sleeping with this guy. I left soon after. She told me to take the kids because he, her new man, didn't want kids. I left with a 9-month-old, a 1-year-old and a 5-year-old. That was 10 years ago. She killed herself last weekend. My oldest is so angry. My boy is heartbroken, he will never get to talk to her anymore, and my youngest, my precious little girl, is devastated. It's so hard to understand how someone can do anything that she has done, and I am completely lost. Number 9. Commenter. She told me she was pregnant with another man's baby. Pretty easy decision. Person B. Same here. Shit was bad anyway, so it was like a get out of jail free card. Strangely, one of the better things to ever happen to me in the end. I became much stronger mentally and more independent. Person C. Same thing. My ex best friends actually. The first go around. Then the bio dad didn't want anything to do with the kid. After months apart I took her back. She was good at manipulation and I grew up without a dad. Didn't want the kid going through the same and raised the kid as my own for the next 3 years. He is my son now, blood or not. Second time, possibly third, she finds a poor guy who took more shit than I would. Cheats again. Then she thought I would just walk away from my son after 3 years of his life. She thought wrong. Blood is accidental. The bond is in the choice and I chose to be his father. I'd do it all again too for him. Number 10. Husband was out of town on a business trip. I had a surgery scheduled for the same time. Had the surgery and there were complications. It was supposed to be a day surgery and I should have been home that evening. Ended up in the ICU for 2 days and the hospital for 4 more. My friend called my now ex-husband and told him that I almost died and was in ICU and he needed to come home. His reply, "Well, she didn't die, so I'll be home when my business trip is over." After he got home and I got home from the hospital, he was nice enough to leave the hotel invoice on our dresser. A room with 2 occupants. Number 11. Commenter. When I talked to his girlfriend on the phone and she didn't know he was married. Person B. My mom experienced the same thing. My dad was in the shower, late Friday evening, and said he was going to his mother's house to help her with something. The phone rang, my mother was resting in bed and answered it. Young female voice, "Hey, my dad, come on down to the bar, I'm waiting for you. You owe me beer, hottie." My mom, "This isn't my dad. This is his 8-month pregnant wife." Young female voice, pause, "So is he coming or not?" After that it was a long dance of trying to throw him out. Luckily my mom laughs about this story because apparently when he came out of the shower she said a girl called from the bar asking for him, he turned white. Person C. That's how I caught my wife cheating. I simply called back the number that was constantly showing up on caller ID. Dude had no clue she was married and insisted that I was joking. Of course the next time I saw my wife, she denied it, saying that I have no business speaking to her friends. I went to see my lawyer the next day. Turns out she had been seeing him for over a year and according to phone records, spoke to him about 2 hours a day. Number 12. Commenter. When she threatened divorce in a very sensitive argument. I paused, agreed, and stuck to it. This threat coupled with the discussion we were having at the time was the final straw. This sort of threat had been used before. She had just started a big new career and got it into her head she deserved an open marriage. We tested it for 3 days in which she had 3 new partners. She had zero empathy to the contrast in our individual capabilities to explore extramarital partners, and when I brought this up is when she snapped, "Let's just get a divorce, then." Person B. My ex had used the maybe we should get a divorce, then as one of her increasingly popular closing arguments whenever we had an argument. One day I said fine, let's get divorced. She blanched. Then she tried to turn it around and pin it on me, oh I see, so all of a sudden you want a divorce. No, this wasn't all of a sudden, and it was your idea. I'm just agreeing with it. She never played that card again. Didn't matter, we were already on that irrevocable course to court divorce. Number 13. There were two things that stuck in my mind I just couldn't get past. But it was a lot of different things. I guess these two were the nails in the coffin. First, a birthday dinner for my father-in-law. 5 minutes before we are leaving for dinner my ex tells me, oh, dinner is just for our immediate family. I thought I was his family. It was very heartbreaking. Second, I spent a month caring for my dying grandmother. One of the most treasured people in my life. I was exhausted and devastated by the time she passed. I don't even remember the conversation, just his response of, I really need your support right now, your grandma's death really messed me up. I realized I was alone in my marriage and that it wasn't ever going to change. I had to walk away for my own health and sanity. Number 14. My ex cheated on me with 7 guys, probably lots more, those are just the ones I found out about. She'd sneak onto my laptop and view my browsing history and Facebook messages and then put a password on her laptop after I confronted her about spying on me. That was an enormous red flag. Well, I managed to get around that password and I can't believe how crazy people can be. In the same sentence she would tell her friends about what an asshole I was and how I was ruining the relationship, etc. Then she would brag about how many different guys she had that weekend. Had a real hard time calmly packing up and leaving while she was at work instead of doing something crazy. Don't think I will ever trust anyone again after that one. I changed her laptop's wallpaper to a collage I made of all her Facebook messages bragging about cheating on me and wrote that she was dead to me. That was my divorce. Make sure to share your personal story in the comments below and have the opportunity to be featured in a future video. Also, if you like these topics, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification button to continue seeing more content like this every day. See you next time.